So today we're going to talk about how to get in shape. How do you be fit, right? And I'm going to apply this really interesting concept: fake it till you make it. Now, honestly, when I heard fake it till you make it the first time, I probably had not so great impressions based off of what I was thinking. And I think this is one of the concepts that really take a little bit of time to be broken down before you truly understand like why and how it works, but also how to apply it in the correct way, because I think fake it till you make it could go wrong in so many senses. All right, so when it comes to fitness, when it comes to weight loss, nutrition, being in shape, being fit, how do you fake it till you make it, right? So I want to put an example together here. If you were to look at person A over here, let's pretend there's a person here. There's obviously not a person here, but person A is super fit, right? And a great way for you to get from point A where you're at to point B, where let's call it person B, okay? Person A to person B. How do you get from point A to point B? Well, you can look at person B here and say, you know what, I want to be like person B. What does person B do, right? What does their typical schedule look like? What are their habits and behaviors that they're taking part in, that they're using on a day-to-day basis, so that they can be person B, right? So that they can be fit, they can be healthy, in great shape, feeling energized throughout the day from when they wake up to when they go to sleep. So let's start breaking those habits down, right? And by recognizing what habits and behaviors they take part in, and then basically faking it by taking part in those habits yourself, you're basically going to be able to go from point A to point B just like that, because the habits and the behaviors are the things that differ from point A from point B, because point A has the habits and behaviors that belong to point A, and point B has the habits and behaviors that belong to point B. I know that sounds probably really simple, or more simple than it really is, but it's that simple. Now, sticking to the habits and behaviors is a whole nother story, but first let's break it down so we at least know where we're starting at. Okay, so person B here is fit, they're healthy, they're energized all day long, they feel really good. What are the things that they do? Well, first of all, they probably pay a lot of attention to things like their mood, like their sleep. And you might ask, what does mood and sleep have to do with fitness or wellness? Because our sleep is super important. Our sleep is the time that our body takes for it to recover, to repair, and prepare us for the next day moving forward. And I think a lot of the time we neglect the importance of sleep and say, hey, I can get by on 6 hours, 5 hours, 4 hours, whatever it is. And I think even within our culture, we're in this culture where it's like grind, that hustle, that like work. And, truth is, most people need a lot more sleep than they're getting. I think the average person is only getting around 5 or 6 hours of sleep per night, which is way underneath the threshold that's recommended by the sleep doctors out there, which is closer to 7.5 to 8 hours every single night. And with sleep, it's one of those things that you're not able to make up for after the fact. So you can't deprive yourself of sleep throughout the week and then think you're gonna get it back on the weekend or throughout the weekend. It doesn't work that way. Once you lost it, the damage has kind of been done. So first thing person B, that fit person over here, is doing is they're paying a lot of attention to their sleep, because not only is that helping our body rest and recover so that we wake up energized, but it controls a lot of functions that we need. Studies show that if you're not getting proper sleep, high quality sleep and enough sleep, then you're more likely to consume more calories throughout the day on average, but also the foods that you're consuming are probably not the best foods that are contributing to a healthy diet and therefore a healthy body, right? So on top of that, actually, people tend to fall off of their workout programs a lot more often when they're not getting enough sleep. So overall, if you want to be fit, then making sure you get enough sleep and good quality rest is a really great place to start. If you're interested in learning more about that, drop a message below or a comment below. Let me know. I'd love to dive into more detail about that topic. It's something I'm super interested in. But first of all, make sure you get enough sleep. That way you're rested, you're recovered, you're energized, but also you're able to make better decisions moving into the next day. And your mood. What does your mood have to do with anything? Have you ever had a really terrible day and you're like, I'm just gonna go to In-N-Out and eat 2 cheeseburgers, a shake, and animal fries? I have. And probably a little more often than it was that my body really wanted. I mean, your body probably doesn't want 2 cheeseburgers, an animal fry, and a milkshake to start with. But the point is, when you're feeling stressed out, your mood is terrible, you had a rough day at work, whatever's going on in your life, that can impact your diet, the things you decide to put into your body, whether or not, you're stressed, it's the end of the day. Do you really want to work out? Maybe, maybe not. Depends, right? But again, mood is one of those things that starts to also impact whether or not we're able to make good choices for our health and our well-being in the following day and during the present moment. So making sure we got our mood in check, our sleep in check, those are 2 fundamental things before moving on. Now, once we got those 2 things kind of set and going, we pretty much all should understand that if you want to be fit, you want to be healthy, that's going to require exercise and that's going to require a good diet, right? Easier said than done. But let's say, person B here, they're super fit, they probably exercise 4, 5, 6, 7 times a week. The types of movements they're doing are varying from a lot of strength training, cardio, some higher intensity cardiovascular training or some metabolic conditioning. They're probably incorporating some sort of sports in there for the competition, the competitiveness, the social aspect that they can do it with friends, make it fun for yourself so that it's easy, so that it doesn't feel like a chore for you to go through your workouts, those exercises, but also having, the conditioning, the strength training, those things in place so that you can round everything out. Sports alone, the nice thing about sports is it does a great job in getting people active and involved. The downside is that a lot of sports and activities tend to carry or they tend to result in a lot of imbalances throughout their body because, if you're playing a racket sport and mainly using one hand over the other, or you're playing some sort of ball sport where, we all have our dominant sides and therefore a lot of imbalances can come or show up from long-term sports-only types of workout programs or exercise programs. So I always recommend people, balance it, that strength and conditioning, that sports, keep it interesting. Go out, go for a run, go for a bike ride, go for a hike, go out with friends. Just do something, mix it up often, and do a lot of it, right? And if you're coming from probably 0 workouts a week, that's fine. Find a place to start. I always recommend people start small, but be consistent, because that consistency is what kills people more than anything else. I get it. A lot of the times we're excited, we're motivated, we're pumped up, we really want to get started and we want to hit the ground running. But if we push ourselves too far, if you tell yourself, I'm going to show up to the gym 3 times a week, 5 times a week, 6 times a week, every single day for 60 minutes, that's a really big task coming from nothing, right? So for most people, I recommend you just go out 30 minutes a day, 60 minutes a day, go walk, right? See how many days you can be consistent with that. Do it before work, do it after work, do it on your lunch break. Just find the time, make the time to show up over and over and over again. And trust me, you're gonna do this a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks go by. You're probably not gonna be you're probably not gonna be walking anymore. You're like, I can pick up the pace a little bit. I'm gonna go jogging. And then you can slowly start to build on top of that, push the intensity higher and higher and higher. And it doesn't feel the same, you don't feel the same struggle as if you showed up to, if you haven't worked out for 3 months or more, your body is probably started to deteriorate a bit since that time. Most of you have probably experienced this before. And if you try to dive right back into a workout routine 5 days a week, you are going to ache from head to toe. From the moment you wake up in the morning to when you fall asleep at night, been there, I've done it, it's miserable. If you can push through it, great. Most of the time, it's a really terrible way to get yourself back into some sort of workout routine. So again, start small, lay out the foundation, make sure you're consistent, show up, and then build up from there, okay? So workout program, person B here, super fit person, is probably training 4, 5, 6 plus times a week, really, changing it up so that they get different types of exercise in. This is super important. You don't want to stick to just one type of programming. That's gonna, well, first of all, it's just not gonna cover all the bases, right? We wanna be overall healthy and not just like healthy in one aspect, and that applies to our fitness as well. And now, the dreaded diet, nutrition, the thing that nobody really wants to deal with. And I think we gotta look at it in a way where diet and nutrition doesn't have to seem so yuck, right? If we look at it in a way where you're only allowed to eat salad, that's a pretty miserable way of living, okay? And no, you do not just have to eat salad or vegetables. Now, vegetables are great for you. I always recommend, 50+% of what you're consuming, shoot for vegetables, high fiber carbs. But again, it doesn't have to be just that. And when it comes to diet and nutrition, I always tell people that, there's a certain number of foundational principles, nutritional principles that you should be able to stick to and then build up from there. So then you get to decide, okay, these are my principles. What am I allowed to eat on top of that? For me, I enjoy Mexican food. So when I prep food at home or prep food for myself for, the week or throughout the week, it will trend. Yeah, I'm not eating a burrito or tacos or like that kind of stuff every single day. However, I might be seasoning my food so that it tastes similar. I might be carrying some lime, cilantro, and onions with me because I like the flavor profile. I like the texture of those things. Or I'll just add salsa over everything because, again, you got to cater these things towards your preferences so that it's easy for you to stick to them long term rather than, signing up for some program or starting some sort of routine where you feel like you're forcing yourself. I think this one's the biggest thing that throws people off the wagon is you feel like you're forcing yourself. If you feel like you're forcing yourself, then you're probably moving a little too quickly or you're just on the wrong program, right? And by looking at nutrition and diet from a perspective of let's start with the foundation, let's go with the principles first, then you can build on upwards and have the flexibility in what do you want to eat? How do you want to eat? When do you want to eat? Right? And make sure that as long as it follows those foundations, you do have the flexibility in making those decisions. So what are the principles that we typically go by? Now, depending on person to person, if you have your own, needs, talk to your doctor, talk to a dietitian, make sure these things actually make sense for you. But as like a general guideline, and these are things that you can find on like the government nutrition websites, general nutritional guidelines. And if you were to look at majority of the diets out there that actually work for you, it tends to boil down to these same points. When you're eating animal proteins, stick to lean sources of proteins. Fatty fish is great for you, but animal proteins, let's stick to leaner sources of protein. When it comes to carbohydrates, let's stay away from like white bread, a lot of pastas. Let's eat more fiber-rich carbs. Fiber is great for our digestive systems, our gut microbiome. There's a lot of bacteria in us. I think there's actually more bacteria in our bodies than there are actual cells. So we're more bacteria than we are actual tissue, right? However, our bacteria inside of our gut requires a lot of fiber to keep us up and running and to keep them healthy. So you want to feed them a lot of fiber because for most people, your fiber consumption is probably less than 10% of what our ancestors was. And not saying that their example might be the perfect example to go off of, but a 10 times difference is a pretty big a delta or a big gap that we have there. So when you're eating carbs, eat fiber-rich carbs. And as I mentioned earlier, eat a lot of vegetables. You already know that you probably need a lot more vegetables in your diet. For most people, they have a hard time incorporating it into your regular routine, especially if you're eating out. I get it, it's difficult. It's almost like most restaurants that you're eating at, they don't provide enough vegetables to the point you probably need to order an extra side or two of vegetables to make that up. However, one trick that I personally really like to go with are smoothies. And I'll usually blend a smoothie either the night before or the morning of, so that I have two 32-ounce servings to take with me for the day. And I'll probably have a video about that some later time as well. But the nice thing about the smoothies is they're convenient. You can pack it in a lunch bag, leave it in the fridge, whatever it is, and you can finish it off in like 60 seconds. It's quick, it's convenient, and you can get in so many vegetables. And if you don't like eating vegetables, like, you need to be doing it. And this is a 60-second alternative. If you can't bear with 60 seconds, then you have to really reconsider whether or not your health is that important to you. But seriously, the smoothies are a really easy way to kind of get the veggies into your body without, seriously, if you don't like eating veggies, try it out. Okay, 60 seconds, you can deal with 60 seconds. Now, after that, I think the two big ones for people who are trying to, get fit, but drop 20, 30, 40 plus pounds, these two things alone will probably create a large transformation for you. Cut out added sugars. This doesn't mean don't eat fruit. This means don't be eating food that has added sugars in it. And you can check the nutrition facts. They'll usually have the carbs and the added sugars as a separate line item in there. All right. And I understand there are foods there with added sugars that aren't that terrible. So usually as a guideline, per meal, we're gonna try to stick to under 10 grams of added sugar per meal. If you can hit 0, great. Then that would definitely be preferable. But again, use your best judgment when it comes to that. And finally, cut out all or as much processed foods as you can. The majority of the time, a lot of processed foods end up stripping out a lot of the nutrients that our bodies need from actual foods that they might have started out with, and then infuse them with a bunch of high calories without, again, the nutrients that we need from the foods that we are eating. So imagine like you're taking out all the things you need and just dumping in a lot of calories. Like, who wants all those extra calories? And I get it. It probably is I'm not even gonna say tastes good, because I think I gotten to the point when you cut out processed foods for a really long time, you get to this point where it's like, this food actually doesn't taste that great. Because yes, it's, I think, very stimulating for your body and your mind to consume those foods. Again, if you ate a spoonful of sugar, you're gonna get a pretty strong like dopamine rush. Yeah, it's gonna feel good, but that's probably not what we're going for in this video, since we are talking about trying to be fit and healthy like person B over here, right? But after you kind of cut out those processed foods from your diet, then slowly but surely, you're gonna see huge results. Because I always make the example of these 5 principles that I've given you here. All right, lean animal proteins, eat a lot of veggies, fiber-rich carbohydrates, cut out added sugars, and cut out any and all processed foods. That alone is gonna drop your calorie consumption, and therefore you're gonna shed weight like nobody's business. Now, if you're trying to drop below like 15% body fat, you're probably gonna have to tweak that up a little bit and focus a little more on the details. However, for those of you out there who are looking to lose 20, 30, 40 pounds, trust me, these 5 things alone will help you shed weight like nobody's business. So that covers nutrition. So what we talked about today is basically, if you want to be fit, you want to get in better shape, what are the 4 things that you got to pay attention to? Your sleep, your mood, your fitness, your nutrition, right? Get those things dialed in and start step by step. Again, don't make the mistake of, it's good to be motivated, right? It's good to be driven. Don't make the mistake of trying to eat what's that saying? How do you eat a cow or something? Some big thing. But how do you eat a cow? One bite at a time, right? So let's take the first step. Let's focus on taking that one bite at a time rather than trying to eat the cow whole. You can't eat a cow whole. You can't go from person A to person B, in one day or 1 week or 1 month. It takes time, right? It takes time to build those habits. It takes time to make some mistakes here and there and be able to realize how you need to adapt programs or situations to your own individual state. And those things are all part of the journey, right? That's why they call it a journey. We're not going from point A to point B as quickly as we can. We're going from point A to point B in the way that's most long lasting for you, so that you don't have to keep on trying to go back and forth between point A and point B. You can just stay there and continue progressing once you reach point B. So I hope this video helped you out. If you have any questions about the topics that we covered here, go ahead, drop them in the comments below, shoot us a message. I would love to expand on these topics a little more. Again, I'm always trying to put out more videos, more posts, more content here. So your feedback is greatly appreciated. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode.